The following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
And I was like, yes, hi. I was so excited.
Oh, let me say hi. Let me get hi again.
Okay, hi.
A guy get to a point and he asks you to marry him, he really wants to marry you.
Mm-hmm. He ready.
Like he really feels like, you know what, she's the one. She's the one.
You already getting the goods. You got to pay for it. Bring me the ring and get on one knee.
Okay.
Or two.
You need time to observe someone and really get a sense of how well do they treat you, how well do they handle adversity.
You're not the one because you don't have grit, the perseverance. You ain't really want me because you ready to give up. Because I said no, you shouldn't have asked. But since I said no, now it's your job to stay in the game and try to fight for it.
Boy, on 5 Heartbeats, where you make the announcement you're going solo at the awards ceremony.
What up, and welcome to One Eye Shut, a podcast about many topics from the perspective of 3 married couples. Thanks for coming back to listen to us one more again. We love hearing from you, knowing that you're out there listening. And you can listen to us lots of different ways. And number one way, of course, we're going to shout out defylifepods.com. That's the network that started it all. But you can also listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, Apple Tunes, any of the many popular podcast platforms out there. Welcome back, y'all. Happy One Eye Shut Day. Happy Hump Day. Glad to be here once again. It's just been a really, really good couple of days. The weather has been beautiful here in Atlanta. We talking, 75, 80 degrees for the last few days. And so it's just amazing the impact that the weather has on people in general, but definitely on me. It's something about that bright sun that it's just awesome. It makes me feel good. And so any chance I get, I'm trying to spend some time outside, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, just sucking up a little bit of the vitamin D. So happy Easter. We just coming up off of a holiday weekend. I guess the weekend was a couple of days ago now, but this is the first time that we're talking to you since the holiday. So happy Easter. Hope everybody had a wonderful and safe holiday. Hopefully it wasn't too many super spreaders out there and people were able to enjoy their family and celebrate the holiday, whatever it means for you in your special way. So happy Easter. Spring is around the corner. You can feel it, y'all. Can taste it. And I'm pretty excited about that. We had a couple of people over this weekend for Easter dinner. While we are not, big churchgoers or anything like that, we have started a tradition around Easter dinner. And so we just use it as an opportunity to have another big Sunday meal, But this year, our children brought their significant, I don't like to say that, but their love interests with them. And it was pretty, a lot of emotions. It was surreal, it was humbling, it was exciting, it was, I don't know, I was a little nervous, and it was very different because it was the very first time that both of them has had that type of company at the same time. This was the first time that they're at that age where this love interest feels a little different for them and definitely for their parents. This is probably definitely the first significant one for Adea. And so she's feeling this dude. Al seems to be quite happy with his lady friend. And it just kind of was like, at one point, I don't know what Al and I don't know if we were having a conversation first, but at one point, as the four of them was in the kitchen fixing their plates or whatever they were doing, kind of looked up and I'm like, Al, like, this is potentially our family. Like, this is how this thing gets started. And again, they're at that age where it's a decent possibility that this person could be, right, the one or at least around for a significant amount of time. I took a picture of the four of them standing outside, just kind of talking, and and it was just again that realization, like that my babies are really like doing adult shit and forming these relationships with other people, but also just the two couples as a unit, like just and again, just going back, like this might be my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, and even if it's not, like that is the path that we're on right now, and that's probably how we will function, at least for the next however long that things are good between these four young people. But it was just, I don't know, it was different, that you're looking at your child and you're like, oh, you grown up for real. Like this is a whole new stage of your life that you're embarking upon, and you're taking us along with you. So it was pretty cool. It was.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Because as a parent, you got to be all introspective and politically correct sometimes. I get it. But as a crazy ass uncle, I think I deserve. I think I have the right to send an angry face picture to my niece so she can show it to this dude, and so he can realize the crazy people he did. And I'm the nice one, so yeah, he'll be receiving a picture soon.
You're right. Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah,
because they need to know that she has, a lot of folks backing her and in her corner, and don't come with the shadiness because you might catch a bad one.
Right, because as you talking, like my face just turned to, you know how Lee look at JJ? my face just turned to that face, like,
yeah.
I don't know about this, but, that's good.
Yeah.
Happy Easter.
Similar to Al's face some of the day, just that fuck this look.
Right.
I was on my best behavior.
He was absolutely
Right.
on his best behavior. Didn't scare the little boy. This is the second time he had been in our house, though.
Okay. That you know.
But
he lying. Whatever you say, he lying.
This time around, I'm pretty confident.
He lying.
Last time not so much. But being in this pandemic.
Right.
This house ain't empty too often.
Yeah. And Keita Pooh, when Cooper's of age, same angry picture I'm sending. So just be ready.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of concrete to go around to bounce niggas off of. So I'm good.
I'm just saying. They need to know. They need to know. But he seems like a nice young man. We'll see.
Okay.
But we'll see how it goes.
Happy Easter.
That's all you got to say. Happy Easter.
That's all you got to say. Happy Easter. So with that note, I guess I'll just keep on going with my word of the day while I have the floor. My word of the day, I'm going to go back to an oldie but goodie, and I'm just going to say grateful. Grateful for everything that I have and who I am and my circles around me and health and life and my children who seem to make pretty good choices all the way around and are clear about who they are. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm just happy to be here. Yeah. So before I go on I just want to say a word to JR. Last week, we got into one of our little spats, and I don't know why you like to argue with me, but it is what it is. Yeah, I'm just saying. And I just want to say, in retrospect, I was a little disrespectful, so I want to apologize for that because that's never my intent. While we probably will always go at each other because that's just how you do me. It's never my intent to be disrespectful. So for that, I apologize.
I appreciate that. And likewise, I lost my cool. I shouldn't have. But just know that I only get into spats like that with people I care about, and I respect their opinion. So when I disagree with you, if I don't give a shit, I won't say nothing back. So the fact that the fact that we snap at each other means we respect each other's opinion. So,
and there you have it. Love you, Jay.
Love you too.
All right, so let's go to Al. Let's start with you. Your word of the day, how you're feeling. You was pretty quiet when I was talking about, your children and them coming to the house. So, if you have anything you want to say about that, feel free. But go ahead. The floor is yours, boo.
Okay. What's up, everybody? Good to be here. What's up, co-hosts, listeners? How y'all doing it? I think just to close up that conversation about the kids, it was definitely surreal. The idea that our children are dating and bringing people that at this stage of life potentially could be that person that they choose to spend the rest of their life with instead of just a nights with. It is kind of definitely a lot of flashbacks to when we were at that stage, but also a lot of like just paying attention to them. And I wonder, like a lot of times I was wondering like how much were the adults in your life or the adults in my life watching us with that type of notebook, so to speak, like, oh, I see that. That's a good sign. Or, oh, nope, that's not a good sign. And, we talked about the difference in a person who's trying to make a good impression and then the person like kind of like me who just really wasn't trying to make an impression at all. Like just kind of how do you kind of deal with that person kind of going forward, kind of what it says about them. So that's kind of interesting, but it's definitely in each of their stays, I would say there was things that I saw that were good. I can't say I saw anything that was a red flag, but there were things that I took note of that just kind of watching somebody, let me see how he handles this. Let me see how she handles this. And they're not even know I'm watching and trying to see what their response is and how they deal with it. And then kind of taking note as a good thing or a demerit. But all in all, it was good experience, and we'll see if they are the ones, and if not, it'll be somebody else or not. So my word for today with that in mind is evolve, and just kind of our things kind of keep moving and keep changing. And I feel like maybe it's springtime. Maybe it's just because I just got my second vaccine shot and I feel like I'm moving into another space with this pandemic shit. But I also think it's, I think coming out of a good weekend, just nice to see progress and things that are on the to-do list, crossing them off and, trying to make it a good week. So always good to be on this show and kind of get some things off my chest and listen to folk and how we digest and process. And so looking forward to this conversation. But as always, it's just great to be here.
Good to have you, Al. Thomas and Jaquita. Let's swing that way. How are you all doing? What's your word of the day? I'm gonna go ahead and shout out Jaquita so she can start us off.
Oh, and I was just pointing at Thomas that he can go ahead and do it.
See, and I know y'all often have that debate, so I was like, let me just go ahead and help out and call one of them.
Mm-hmm. I had a really good Easter weekend. So my word will be, I would say like joyful, I guess. And the reason why I was joyful was because we were with family. Well, it was just my sister and Thomas and the kids. But I really enjoyed watching Versus with Ronald Isley, the Isley Brothers, and Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like, it really took me back to that good old music. It made me thought about like my grandparents, like my grandmother who's passed away. And I just felt like really good music. So I felt really, really joyful. So that's my word.
Hey, how you guys doing?
What
So,
up?
my word, I couldn't think of anything. I was, in a tight discussion and I just lost everything. So my word is, well, I don't know, lack of a better word or lack of a better phrase, is brain freeze. I just, I just, I just couldn't think of anything. I just have a lapse right now. I can't think of another word. So I'm gonna go with that.
That's all right. We'll support you in your brain freeze. We all have them sometimes. Word, sometimes it's just what it is. Like, I'm just here, not necessarily feeling any particular thing at the moment, and that's cool too. All right, Ladine and JR. We started female on the other side, so JR, let's start with you.
All right. First off, I want to give a shout out to our couple of the week, Billy and Leola Glenn, affectionately also known as Uncle Billy and Unley. But they are a couple of the week, 54 years, almost 55 years strong in this. So, they are one of those couples who kind of paved the way for us. And I just want to give a shout out to them and thank you all of our listeners and followers for showing them love on our social media pages. So shout out to Uncle Billy and Uncle Lee, man. Y'all are the bee's knees when it comes to this marriage thing.
Happy
Happy anniversary.
Yes, happy anniversary.
Right.
We're thinking alike.
You know it.
I said I wasn't gonna say nothing on air about our half-ass reading listeners. But even my mama, I had to get on her. I'm like, Mama, it is not their anniversary. Well, I saw something, so yeah.
But really, when is the anniversary though?
I think it's August, ain't it? I think their anniversary is in August.
The anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Well, happy early or belated,
right.
very much anniversary.
If I remember correctly, it's in July.
Is it in July? Okay. But shout out to them, man. We love y'all to death. So
big ups, Aunt Lee, Uncle Billy.
No doubt.
And just so y'all understand the laughter, and happy anniversary joke, JR had mentioned on the pre-show, this idea of every time you put up a picture of a couple, like, people don't really read, they just make assumptions about what it is. And so while the post was just about highlighting them and, all their goodness as a couple and their longevity, blah, 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 folks just started shouting out, happy anniversary, happy anniversary. So it's like, really? So then JR reminded us of that saying that, it's kind of common around about black folks, unfortunately. But, there's this saying, if you want to hide something from a black person, just put it in a book, because we don't read, right? Nobody read the post. They just started hollering happy anniversary. But it's all good. It's just an early happy anniversary for you, Uncle Billy and Aunt Lee. So in a few months, don't expect all these happy anniversaries.
Right.
I'm just saying. So, yes.
So,
all right, thanks for that.
Yes. But my word of the day is, I don't know if I guess I put hyphens in between each word, but in my feelings. So I'll make it one word. So I saw this video clip today, a really short clip that just said, every parent at one point unknowingly picks their child up and puts them down for the last time. And, some things just hit you in a certain way. And my dumb ass was like, I'm going to go home and pick my kids up today. Fortunately for my back, Lincoln's sick and LaDanian is just as big as I am. So I don't know how I'm going to make this happen, but I'm going to make it happen like I'm fighting time. But I'm in my feelings about it because I can't remember the last time I picked them up and put them down. So That's something every parent does, and it's something that we don't think about, I guess. And like Al said, evolution. It's just part of them growing up, but it sucks sometimes to be reminded that, like y'all, that they're growing up. So I'm kind of in my feelings right now.
I think it's just the crazy irony of being a parent that if many of us are honest, there is just this I don't want you to grow up side of like I'm a little bitter that you're growing up. Like I don't want to give that up.
Right.
And I hate to claim it, but that's what it is.
Yeah, and because usually in our day-to-day operating lives with our kids, there's the other side usually where for 2 years you're teaching them how to walk and talk, and for the next 16 years you're trying to get them to sit down and shut up. But there are times. There are times
sometimes when more than 16 years.
Right, exactly. But there are times when you are reminded that you don't have any control over this thing. They're gonna grow up, and again, you're dealing in the day to day. We don't take time to I guess enjoy the process, and so we end up looking back. So yeah, these are the times I'm in my feelings because that they are babies. My babies are growing up, and things change, and you got to deal with it. So don't change. Don't even though they might look at their dad and think that my dad don't. Like we always the angry curmudgeons around the house, I guess, but they don't get it. We love them just the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you might, I don't know, JR, you might want to settle for letting them sit on your lap or something. Like your boys are big.
Right, I was thinking about maybe a piggyback ride to do it. Maybe like stand on the bed and then jump on my back. Maybe like lean on my back, don't jump, but like lean on my back and then give me 3 steps, and I can at least remember the day. So yeah, I'm trying to find a way around this, man. I'm trying to find. Yeah.
How about lifting them up inspirationally? Like send them a send them a documentary.
Right. Oh man. Right. Like some Black Boy Joy. Might do that. Oh man. Yeah. So that's where I am right now. But thanks for the options.
In your feelings.
Right.
Okay. Again, sometimes that's just where we need to be. Hilarious. All right, Lady, what you got?
What do I got? Hi. What is happening today? Let me see. So I had a pretty good day today. I just been busy. I mean, work's been real busy, and I'm tired. All right, I'm tired of the work. So I don't really have a word right now, guys. I'm going to say Happy Easter. I enjoyed my Easter weekend. Thank you very much. Let me see. I've just been really enjoying myself lately. So let me see. I'm gonna say very content. Can it be content?
It can be whatever you want it to be, boo.
It's a word.
It is a word. I'm going to say content because it's just been great. I've been hanging out with great people, just really enjoying my life lately. And I love that. Isn't that great? Just finding great comfort in the company, in my days, in everything that I'm doing, every conversation that I'm having, just making it very worthwhile, I feel like, anyway. So yeah, that's about it. That's about all she wrote for right now.
That's all she wrote for right now. All right, we'll take it.
Okay.
And on that note, we'll just go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
It's just very interesting to me how reflective the conversation has turned as we've done our words of the day, from us talking about our children, JR talking about y'all's children. And it always evokes like these emotions, some of which we don't sometimes know what to do with. And so people are always looking back in their lives and kind of thinking about what they would do differently if they could do it all over again. And so tonight we're kind of going to talk about that a little bit, not so much what we would do differently, but more along the lines of what advice would we give ourselves before our wedding if we knew then what we know now. And so it's ironic because for me, like I feel like I do that, I don't know about fairly often, but and the advice is not so much to me, but it's to my daughter. And ironically, I just happened to give her some advice this morning about her relationship before we even decided what we were going to talk about this evening. And so I guess the universe just was lining it up already. Like, this is what you all need to talk about. And so today we were talking about really the weekend, Easter Sunday to be specific, when they were all over here, and just kind of talking about the experience and what we thought and how he felt and that kind of conversation. And one of the things that came up while he was here was around he has a very old school traditional type upbringing, um, in that mom did not work. I don't know if she didn't work his whole life, but she definitely does not work now. And she cooks dinner every night. So she's that mom, and from what I understand, like it's real full blown type Sunday meals every day.
Is he Elvin from the Cosby Show?
Not really, but he kind of looks like him a little bit.
Oh, okay.
He's a little taller and thinner, right? And so they were having, I can't remember how it came up, but the three of us was having that conversation, and Day is like, I keep trying to tell you, like, that's not what I'm going to do. Like, I'm not interested in cooking every day, blah, blah, blah. And so he's like, so Miss Gina, can you tell her, like, what are the roles supposed to be? And he's like, well, if I'm supposed to be doing this, then what is she supposed to do? And if that's my role, then how come she can't play the role of Susie Homemaker kind of thing? And I'm just like, well, that's between y'all, figure that out or whatever. But what I said to Adea today was basically, that is something that you guys really have to figure out. You have to make some decisions about what you want that to be for you and what that's going to look like, right? Because this is clearly something that is very important to him. And while you absolutely have the right not to be that person if that's not what you want, this is something that you all need to talk about and come to some conclusions on or compromise about as you're moving forward, because this is clearly important to him and you don't want it to become a source of tension, right? And so every couple, and again, these are conversations that may or may not go anywhere because y'all are young and this relationship is only, several months old. But as you guys are talking futuristically, like this is something that definitely needs to be on the table, that you all need to figure out what it's going to look like for you two as a couple. And so I guess my advice generally, when Al and I got married, there were a lot of things that we did not talk about and we didn't even know to talk about, right? Which is one of the reasons why I advise every couple to go through that marriage counseling, whether it's from your pastor or from somebody else, like whatever, because there are just things like you never have had that experience. And so you just don't know what to expect. All the time definitely is a big picture. You only know what you know. And so it's that having those conversations about the big issues so that everybody is clear what your stance is and that you two have come to some type of agreement of what it means for your relationship. So that's my first piece of advice that I get to give, not to myself, but to my daughter, well, really, and my son, who's, going to embark upon that path at any moment now. Al, I saw you kind of nodding, kind of, I don't know, you got some feedback?
I mean, definitely when it comes to those types of, um, I guess, where your values don't line up, I think as you come across them, communication, discussion should occur so that, y'all could really figure out, I guess, the why someone has a different value, and then is this something that we can work through? Um, Definitely didn't do a lot of that. I agree with you. When we was dating and we had a lot of time to do it, we just never did because probably you're right. We didn't know what to ask, but also I don't think I really cared because I was just more. At some point, I guess I just figured I'd figure it out, and I just looked at it as part of the journey. I didn't even think that someone would share those types of answers. I just figured I'd figure it out. Um, I thought it was an interesting question about what would I say to the 25-year-old me, because that's when we got married, and what lessons would I want to even impart on this kid, because I think part of the beauty of life is kind of the learning and discovering as you live and learn. So I wouldn't want to kind of spoil the end of the movie too much without. I want some of that to be figured out on my own. But I think one of the things I would start with is kind of what you talked about in terms of with Adea, and it's about being honest with yourself, with your spouse, potential spouse, the person you're dating. Just kind of be willing to like communicate when you have needs, be willing to listen when they have needs, when you're in pain, when they're in pain. Like, just, I think that would be some of the big lessons I would try to share with that kid, because it might have helped me eliminate some of the huge mistakes as a husband and a father. I think I would also, though, impress that marriage is about gratefulness and grace, which is a word you like to use, and be more, give more grace, but even also expect more grace. Like, I think just understanding that we are humans, and kind of expecting each of us to have, if you're going to be with somebody for like ever, they're going to make mistakes, and you're going to make mistakes, and just kind of learn from them and help the other learn from them. I think that's where it would start, just kind of helping me deal and process with stuff differently as I was a young guy. Other than that, I kind of don't have a lot of regrets in terms of that guy. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes, and I think that's the other lesson. Last one I would say. Help me.
How many lessons?
I'm saying I'm on a. They just kind of coming to me, right? I think the last one is just that about mistakes, and that how critical as a parent, as a father, my mistakes are, and that they impact everybody in the house. And when you are, before you are married and kind of leading a household, you don't really appreciate the gravity of your mistakes. When you become that dude, they really count. So be careful. And I'm done. I'll sit back.
Thanks, Al. And just for clarification, I mean, if that's what it ends up being, for you, then it is what it is. But this conversation is not necessarily about regrets, right? Some of us have them, some of us don't. That's not probably the best use of your time, objectively speaking, but just more about reflecting on the lessons that you learned and what you would say to somebody, right? And so, if you have regrets, then that just is. But we're not trying to have you relive or be traumatized over again from your actions, but just what did you learn and what would you pass on to your young self if you had the chance, or your children? All right, so Thomas, Keita, Ladine, JR, is any of this resonating for you? Anything that Al and I have said thus far that is resonating that you want to chime in on about? And you can do that, and then just lead into what your advice would be if you're ready to share that.
Yeah. Al saying, that, the decisions you make as the leader of your household, how much weight that carries, that hit home. And I think, I would think we can all, as far as, I think, Pooh, you may feel the same. We've all talked enough and together to understand that we've grown in those decisions and from those decisions that we've made as husbands and fathers over the years, that we've come to appreciate how like as Al said, how much weight it carries. So that kind of touched home a bit. I think the first thing I would tell myself, would just don't hesitate to be vulnerable with my wife, because what that being in this, and it kind of comes leads to some of the decisions and mistakes made, is when you're not willing to be vulnerable, and you want things to look good all the time. It leads to this building these facades that aren't really there, and that that don't really exist, and they just look good. But then you have to deal with the reality after that facade falls. So just be vulnerable up front and deal with it with the person you've entrusted your heart and your love with. So that would be the first thing, is just don't be afraid to be vulnerable, because it's so much easier to deal with things when both sides are dealing with the reality.
I like that one. I definitely was nodding a lot.
You definitely what?
I was nodding a lot as she spoke.
Oh, yeah, I was going to chime in that I like that one too. And that's one that is a lesson that or something that I'm still practicing, right? Like vulnerability is huge across the board, like in every relationship in your life in general. And that's one of the things about this podcast that, for those of you who really know me, know that I'm a pretty private person. And I don't share a whole lot of important or things that I value, rather, especially when it comes to feelings and all of that. But that's one of the things that I appreciate about this podcast. Like, I've used it as a platform to practice that vulnerability. I've said some stuff on here that I would have never imagined that I would have said or shared with strangers. I would even share it with family and friends, but definitely not with strangers. And so,
I'm proud of you for that, by the way.
Thank you.
I've had conversations with Ladine and family, like my sisters. Like, I'm proud of Gina, because I know, like me, you could be a private person. So sometimes you forget that it's not just the six of us talking. There are thousands of people listening at times. So I'm proud of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, it's definitely a muscle worth building. So, yes, I really like that one. All right. Who else?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and dive in there, and I wanna definitely I'm gonna jump on that bandwagon as well. With the being vulnerable. I can just think of and like I said, vulnerability comes from, it could be, definitely anything, but I can just think about, I guess, something that transpired maybe 3 weeks ago and then never happened because I always eat it. I just never say anything about it. And I went to Keita and I was like, yo, I said, I don't feel well. And not that I'm not sick. I just feel depressed. Like I'm depressed. I just feel like, everything's collapsing on me. And I would have, I never, and I feel like that at times, but I've never ever, came to her and stated anything like that. I guess, and it's not ego, but it's just all my life of being raised in a tutelage. It just speaks the opposite of that. Like you raise us, hey, don't cry, don't say this, don't say you're hurt, you're tough. So society raised us to be the total opposite of being vulnerable. And it really, really, it really took a lot, out of me to even say that. So I just felt like that was a win, for me. I felt like I opened up, and I know that was wild, but so I guess to go bring something new to the table, what I would tell myself is that I would say love isn't enough. It's just not enough. That you have to put forth effort. Like, going to sleep, waking up, I love you. I just don't think that's going to get it done. You have to, put forth effort. You just can't sit there and watch the other person, I guess, get worn down. And, you have to do the things that you have to do to, to make them feel special and vice versa. You do have to put forth effort.
I love that, Thomas. It makes me think immediately of that phrase. It says, love is an action word. Right? Like, it's one of those things you got to do every day. Every day. You got to show it. You got to live it. Yeah, I love that advice. A lot of young people in particular. Well, you know what? I take that back. Just people in general. Like, we often just sit back and like, it's enough that I'm here. It's enough. Of course I love you. Aren't I here?
Imagine, didn't I?
Right. Oh, boy. How many of your uncles does that sound like? Right? But the idea that you've got to work every day and choose that person every single day. Yes, Thomas, love it. Yeah. Who else? Haven't heard from you yet. Okay, here you go, Keita.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go because Thomas sitting here trying to explain to me what we're talking about because wedding threw me off. So I was like thinking what I was going to tell myself before the wedding. So I was like, what are we talking about? So definitely when it comes like what would I tell myself before the marriage? I really would sit down and kind of like write goals and just knowing myself, like what do I want out of the marriage? Because I know women or girls or whatever, we want to get married. We want the love. We want the the companionship, but you can get that just in a relationship with someone. But I really didn't sit down and tell myself, like, what do I want out of the marriage? Meaning, like, and what am I looking for in my husband to do for me, and what we gonna do for each other, and what we're gonna build, basically. So that's what I would tell myself. Instead of just winging it, I would have put more like goals and stuff, set goals for myself and my soon to be husband.
Good one. Yeah.
That's a good one too. Yeah. Something that I think a lot of folks don't do, like actually think about what you want from your marriage and setting those goals.
And writing them down.
Writing them down, yeah. that actually made me think of Keita, my other piece of advice, which is actually, if I only had one, this would be the one that I give. But it's very similar in that, when you said to know yourself. And I think that a lot of people don't do that, particularly when you're younger. But a lot of older folks don't do it either. And so for me, it's not just like what you would want out of the marriage, but what you want out of life. Right. And one of the things that I tell people, and people look at me like I'm crazy, but if a young person asks me, or if I have an opportunity just to give my opinion about when people should get married and what age and blah, 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 I typically go with 30. And people are like, oh, that's so old. Why would you tell anybody to wait? Because I just feel like that's a safe age, right? And throughout your 20s, your 20s should be about figuring out who you are and what you want and establishing yourself career-wise, figuring out what you want to do with that and blah, blah, blah. But just learning, taking the time to learn who you are. Al and I got married. We were both 25. And that was too young for me, right? Because I did not know who I was. I didn't have the wisdom or the teachings to say, get yourself together first before you are, joining with somebody else and starting this family and, all of that. And so I just think that if you're 30, that just affords more time for you to figure that out and write down your goals as an individual, right? Like, here's what I would like to do with my life, and then secondly, figure out how we can mesh the two. But just really knowing yourself and knowing what you want out of your marriage, out of your life, like all of that. Yeah, if someone had told me that, I don't know that I would have listened, but I'm just saying, like, sitting here as a 50-year-old now, like, I understand how critical that is. And in that, comes the ability to choose you, right? Because you don't even know to do that if you don't appreciate who you are or know who you are or know what you stand for, like all of that. Yeah. So yes, thank you, Keita. Know yourself and set your goals. Write them down. Know what you want. I like it. All right, Ladine. Haven't heard from you at all yet.
Yes. Hi.
Again.
Yes. So first thing I do want to say, before I go into my advice, I would like to address something that Pooh said, because one of the most beautiful ways to be able to get out of being depressed would be to take your power back. And half of that is inside of your vocabulary and what you speak into your life. And so for me, I hate to have to do shit. I don't have to do anything. And there were so many have-tos in being in this relationship. And you don't really have to do shit, but you want to. And sometimes when you want to do things and you understand the power in your choices and the power of choice, period, and you allow yourself to make decisions on a daily, hourly, every minute, moment basis, it changes. It changes the way you see you. It changes the way you feel. It allows a different space for you to be able to want again. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so it's great to want to be in a relationship. It's great to want to wake up and to want to do for your partner because you fucking want to. Like, that is beautiful. And you want to do for yourself because you want to. You don't have to do shit. You really don't. And for me, that changed a lot of where I was in our marriage. It changed a lot of just who I was, period. So I just wanted to add, not address or anything like that, but just add It's a little bit of what Pooh was saying. So, anywho, I hope you can make good use of that. If not you, somebody out there can make good use of that because that is some good shit. I'm telling you. Anyway.
If you must say so yourself.
Okay,
Right.
that's
Good
it.
shit.
That's it. But let me see. What would I? Oh goodness. Okay, so I would definitely say everything that I just said. Um, uh, if I could tell me back then, um, I would definitely communicate more. Yeah, communication is always a big deal for me. It always has been, it always will be. But when it came to communicating with my husband, it was so difficult for me. It was like I felt like sometimes I was talking to a fucking bull that just didn't want to listen, and like we were just like at each other's like I mean, we were just in each other's faces about everything, at each other's throats often. Um, we just clashed, and it sucked. So I would definitely say allowing each other the space. For me, a big one of my biggest things was my expectations. Man, my expectations of this man was shit. He was never, I mean, ever gonna be able to be because it's just not who he is. And I'm okay with that because I love him for who he is, and that was a big part of it. It was really learning to appreciate the man that he is, and not this man that I wanted him to be or that I thought he should be. Like, why the fuck am I comparing him? Why am I expecting different things? Because it's not so much of a compare, but if I'm expecting different things from him, right, I'm getting that because I have a different viewpoint of what I think it's supposed to be, right? So that is sort of comparing. But just really just appreciating all pieces of Jay for Jay. That changed a lot. And so yeah, and then if you do have those expectations for the person, fucking let them know, because how the hell are they supposed to meet expectations that they didn't even know they were supposed to be meeting? You know what I'm saying? That was huge. JR, when we would finally talk and have, and we would talk about things and have these conversations, he'd be like, Ladine, but how was I supposed to know that? Like, if you never let me know. So yeah, that was really big. I'm over here like Keita thinking that we was about to be talking about, well, warn people about pre-wedding stuff, because, honey, I was ready for that, okay? But this was a little more beautiful. But we definitely got to have a conversation about that at some point.
What are we talking about in terms of things as you're going
Like
into the wedding,
the
things to pay
wedding
it?
itself. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Like what? I mean, what? Just is that?
Out of curiosity.
Like,
So for me,
Make sure your wife's uncle play the right song for you to walk into the reception.
oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, don't let your parents invite your guests.
Oh God.
that too.
Oh, what else y'all got? Come on, y'all on the road.
So for me,
Yeah.
I would say, man, listen, I don't. You got to have. All right, so we don't have to do shit, right? But you want to get you the Bridezillas. What's it called? Oh, what's the movie Jennifer Lopez was in? She was what was it called?
Oh,
That she was
Monster-in-law.
the mother-in-law.
Monster-in-law.
Not Monster-in-law. The one where she was the wedding planner. Get
The
your
wedding
wedding
planner.
planner. Get your wedding planner like J-Lo. If your wedding planner is not like J-Lo, she does not deserve to be your wedding planner. Don't be Bridezilla, right? But just make sure you got somebody that got your back, that knows to have motherfuckers on time, and just make sure that, like somebody to coordinate other than you, where it doesn't sound like you're always the one bitching. You know what I'm saying? So someone to just really like be supportive, who also isn't too much of a bossy bitch. Like, bitch, relax. It's not that serious. But just keep people in check. You need someone to have your back and keep stuff in check. Just make sure people show up on time. The hair is done, and oh man, all of that. just those little things will mean a lot. I promise.
Don't get
So that
married
you're
in
not
the
too
biggest.
late to the ceremony,
No,
like I would.
I wasn't gonna say nothing. But don't get married in the biggest snowstorm in Atlanta history.
Not a good idea.
Right, that's what happened to us. It was like an apocalypse out there in Atlanta. It was the worst storm ever.
Really?
2011. Yes, the week of our wedding.
Yeah.
My brother almost didn't get in. He came in the night before, right? We had to go pick him up. Their flight was delayed. My whole family's flights was delayed from New York. Oh my God, it was a nightmare. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I can remember driving from our side of town to the wedding, and it being like a thing. Like it's like, all right, let's the roads are clear, but let's be careful. Let's pay attention because the ice is still slick out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And and with that, make sure your cousin knows what formal means, and she don't show up in jeans, and her husband don't show up in a sweatsuit.
Sometimes you got to define the word formal.
Right.
We had the same thing, Jay. We had people with jeans and sneakers on, and our wedding pictures. I was like, why he got that on at the wedding? Like, really?
Right.
It's a disaster. Oh, and don't hire your friends to do your videography. Thomas actually hired Yoshi.
Oh, God.
It didn't turn out right.
He didn't have no footage.
Never seen it.
He started partying. I don't know when.
My goodness.
So we have nothing but these pictures. That's it. Nothing.
Wow.
Well, Thomas, you just did the proposal over. It sounds like you might need to do over on the wedding too.
Need to do a wedding. But I had a wedding planner that was awesome. So it was a lot of stuff that I didn't know about that happened. So I'm glad I did have a planner.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good. Did you ever sit with the wedding planner and find out like detail? I might have been all up in it, but that is good that you had one. That's amazing. So you don't got to be all up in it.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, if anybody finds a time machine, they could go. Well, I guess we're talking about people that's getting married now. But if I was giving advice to myself, I would have had to find a time machine. But anybody, go find all the episodes of One Eye Shut and get all the information you need about being married.
No, but seriously though, the only other thing I was gonna say was the in-laws, and I mean on both sides. Like,
oh God,
stop! Don't let your family have You might want to have certain family traditions. Let the wedding planner get the ideas of what all of that is. Let the wedding planner get everybody's ideas for you. You decide, yo. Don't wait to choose a date for everyone. I tried to wait for a date where everyone was going to be don't plan your fucking wedding. Plan your wedding. It's not their wedding. Yo mama got married already, and if she didn't, well, sorry, mommy, but this is my motherfucking wedding.
And some of them got married. Some of our mamas got married twice.
Okay? So don't fucking worry about this wedding. This ain't your sister's wedding. This ain't your fucking sister-in-law's wedding. This is your fucking wedding. Do your wedding the way you want to, with the music you want to. You only get to do that shit if you want to fucking make it last forever. Make it last forever once. Hello. But I'm just saying. So do it. And if you got to redo it together, then you fucking redo it together. You know, because we doing the redo. At some point, we doing the redo. We're renewing our vows or something at some point. So I'm telling you, it's worth it. It's worth doing it the way you want, how you want, when you want, what you want. And that's it.
No doubt.
And make sure all of that is established on the front end, right? Because like in the moment, it's hard to pull it back. It's hard to make people, and that's not what you should be doing as the bride in the moment, right? But some of the stuff that you all have talked about that happened in your wedding wasn't necessarily planned for, like the change of the music, you know? So what do you need to do in the front end to make sure that that kind of stuff doesn't happen?
Right, that's why you get the bomb ass motherfucking wedding planner. I'm telling you. You don't want it to be a family member. Let the family's member give input. They gotta give input. You gotta get input from other people. There's nothing wrong with input, right? But there's a time where you set your motherfucking boundaries. That's a great one. Learn to set fucking boundaries, y'all.
That's
Yo,
a huge
Mhm.
from the jump with each other, with yourselves. Know your fucking boundaries, know when not to step over them bitches, but understand them things. Yes, that was great.
and have similar boundaries, right? Like, so the boundaries for your marriage has to be decided between the two of you, and then y'all got to keep a united front, like, because there's going to be times when it's you against them, you know what I mean? And so, like, you guys, when it comes to setting boundaries for your marriage, like, that has to be a joint thing. There's gonna be some individual stuff too, but there are some things that, as a couple, you just feel like, nah, that's not going down like that.
Right.
No,
Right. Because
not
sometimes
happening.
even family members have to understand that, yeah, we family, but this is my family.
Yep.
And that's your family over there. We might be
Yep.
family as a whole, but this part of this family over here got boundaries. So family members need to understand that shit.
True indeed.
Yes, and then also, ladies, listen to your soon-to-be husband as far as like with location or ideas. Because I didn't listen to him. I decided just to keep it at my hometown. And we had over how many people? Like 200 plus people in the building that just thought they could just walk in. So, gotta listen.
Honestly, I think that would be something, one of the few things I would kind of do different is probably look at location. And I know we were both insistent on doing it in New York because that's where we were from. But New York is one of the more expensive motherfucking places on this planet.
Yes.
Right.
Like, everything being everything, we could have had the same dope ass wedding. Probably for a third, or, like just, but we were at New York. We got to go back. And everybody, it was people who travel, but shit, people travel for weddings or not. And, but we wanted people to be there. That was part of it too. We wanted to make sure people was there, but I would have really thought more about that, like location.
Have that shit in Newberry, son.
Well, I was getting ready to say that wouldn't have been an option, Jay. And so, as we talk about, like, we were from New York, and so our family was
Everybody was up there.
Was either in New York or South Carolina. It didn't make sense for us to plan a wedding in South Carolina when we didn't have any, real ties there directly, friends and, and so Atlanta wouldn't have been it because we were the only ones in Atlanta, like literally at that time.
At the
And
end
so
of the
it just
day,
made sense. Yeah, we
Right.
could have saved a whole bunch of money had it been someplace else. But it kind of just made sense. We were very blessed when it came to our wedding. And I guess Stephanie served as the wedding
definitely.
planner.
Shout out to Stephanie. Rest in peace, baby.
Stephanie my sister. And she was in New York, and so she was on the ground in New York. And so while, we were planning together, she literally did a lot of the legwork because she was there on the ground. And so we didn't really have, and Stephanie being who she is, like, she don't have problems with boundaries. She was a type A personality, and so very organized, and things was like, she was like, nah, this is how this goes. And was very knowledgeable about
Had a lot of resources.
stuff. And so, yeah. Yeah, it went off without a hitch, and if there was any hitches, I didn't know about them, really. Everything from, well, I guess the biggest hitch was, my husband showing up drunk at the wedding. But, there's something else we won't talk about.
Oh my God, Alvin, what's happening?
So when she talks about us being blessed and we had a great weekend, that included the bachelor party. And it was an amazing night. And everybody who went, it is one of them nights that people remember. We still talk about at barbecues. Like, that's just was one of them nights. And we planned a late wedding with that in mind. So I let everybody know we do not have to come home early because the wedding is late. So let's go. And my brother played his position just like Stephanie played her position and organized our wedding. My brother was the Friday night before guy, and he made sure we have a great time. And we pulled in. It was probably dawn.
Yes, he did. That's another part of my doing shit I wasn't supposed to be doing when I was underage. Thanks, Al.
He was underage, and you hopped in the van.
I did.
But, you know,
And you hopped in the van.
I was like 50. It's classic with like my brother drove a van, and it was a 15 passenger, and it was like 15 black drunk motherfuckers going from Queens to Bronx to Brooklyn, and yeah.
Because Jay, you'd have been what, like 15?
I would have been. I was
17.
I was 17. And
17.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but it got to the point where like I was like Trey in the back seat. Like I was like, "Yo, Al, let me out." Let me out. I couldn't last the whole night. Like they was like they got home at dawn. I might have got home at like 4. I was like, I can't do this no more. I was like, yo, Doe, let me out. I couldn't do it no more. So, but I seen enough. Yeah, that's all I put it. It was great.
And it's so interesting how like that night before looks so different for the bride than it does for the groom often. Like, cause our night is nothing about any of that. We dealing with still trying to get ready physically and emotionally for what is going to be the biggest day of our lives up until that point. But what I don't understand is, I don't know, I guess maybe it's tradition or whatever. We got married on a Sunday. I don't know why y'all couldn't have a bachelor party on Friday. Like, why did it have to be the night before? I'm just saying.
That's the night of bachelor parties.
Not always. It doesn't have to be.
I know some people believe differently, but at the time, and I still kind of feel like that, like bachelor party, yo, get it in the night before.
So I guess that would be my advice to before the wedding, the actual wedding, and maybe before the marriage advice. I don't know. Try to get your future husband to have the bachelor party.
It's your last night of
a couple of nights before the actual wedding, so that they don't show up with alcohol oozing out of their pores. I'm just saying.
Again, I was just a kid. I had no decision making.
It's your official last night of bachelorhood. Go out in an epic way so that motherfuckers will remember your name once you're gone. That was that dude. Remember Alvin? Remember Alvin's bachelor party? Let me tell you about this guy Alvin and his bachelor party. That's how you go out.
That's the legacy you want.
I mean, I'm along with others.
But it's funny as y'all are mentioning stuff like of course the bachelor party was epic, but like certain things that y'all are mentioning, I'm again as a kid, you don't really pay attention to a lot of stuff when you're young like that. But I do remember Stephanie like being in charge of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember her like running shit, and I never even thought about it. Like I was like, now I'm like, oh yeah, she was all over everything. So yeah, she did her thing.
She even took me down, like, cause we were coming up every other month or once a month, like to handle stuff. Some stuff you had to be there in person 25 years ago before all this other technology. But she even took me down to buy the ring. Like she was like, I know a spot. Come on, let's go. Yeah, she definitely was trooper.
She was on it, yeah.
And that's who she was, right? Like in every areas of her life, she was just in charge and on it. Like shit's just gonna happen. I don't know. It's one of them traits I didn't get. Maybe it's the youngest child thing. Like they did everything, and I didn't have to really pay attention to how to get shit done so expeditiously and efficiently. I don't know, but
we are who we are, player.
Hey, I'm just saying. And some of us are still waiting to get to who we're.
Hey, it's never too late.
Who we're supposed to be. Oh, ain't never too late. Evolving, I believe it's supposed to, like every day, it's supposed to be some level of evolution. So, all right, y'all, I think we have come full circle the pre-marriage advice to the pre-wedding advice, all great stuff. And whether you're about to be on your first marriage, your second marriage, your fifth marriage, uh, I think that there's some very good nuggets was given here tonight, and hopefully you'll be able to use them. If not for yourself, maybe you can pass it on, or maybe we've just inspired you to think about the lessons that you've learned and be able to help some young person in your life, and give them that advice, and maybe you can save them a little bit of heartache, or maybe just a little bit of time. Who knows? Whatever it's worth, right?
And I don't want to come across as like gender biased or misogynistic. So to the little girl who's dating my nephew, you can get the phone call too. So just want to let her know.
They don't want that smoke. They don't
Nah,
She can get the business too.
can
She
get
don't
the
want these
business
people
too.
gonna come down. Okay?
Right.
So like in the same way that Adea got a bunch of uncles that got her back. Oh, don't sleep, Mayel. Yeah, I'm calling your name out. Don't sleep, Mayel.
Dang.
Alvin got plenty of aunties.
Got titis, Zaria, okay?
That'll do the thing.
Right. Don't make me call the muscle.
Y'all threatening people on a podcast.
And nobody threatening. We just
On the podcast. Yes,
That's not a threat. That's a standard. Don't make us call the muscle. The muscle will show up and handle.
Don't let the muscle come into town.
Nah.
I'm just saying because it's fair. But real talk, like from what we've seen thus far, that's we don't think that's going to be necessary for Mayel. She seems to be a really sweet young lady.
They all seem to be. Yeah. We're gonna find out.
We will
Don't let her have to call the muscle. I'm just saying. That's good stuff. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening. We've had a great time. We'll see you next week. Same time, same channel. Good night, y'all.
Night, y'all.
Good night.
Good night.
We're told that greatness is exceptional, when it should be expected. You choose every day to live your life intentionally, without apology for how bright your light may shine. So go be great. Go be brilliant. Go be you. Go defy life. The Defy Life movement is one that speaks to each of us in its own way. Defy Life Gear speaks to us all by reminding us that one size does not fit all. Visit defylifegear.com to get fitted for greatness.